and Pastor Jesse Harden.
Awesome. All right. Well, welcome to the opening and celebration of the first safe outdoor space in the city of Albuquerque. Awesome. Yeah. Appreciate it. Last Wednesday, I came here early in the morning as one of our first guests was emerging from her tent after her first night here. I said, "How'd you sleep?" And she smiled. She gave a huge sigh of relief, and she said, "I slept better than I have in months." She said, "Thank you for this space." It was so beautiful to hear that and to see the impact of just a simple, safe, secure space that we can provide. Unfortunately, right, several hundred people, our neighbors in the city, slept on the streets last night, fearing for their safety. And I think this is a symptom of broken, failed systems, which we are working on. I think people are trying to work on, but we have to continue to work on the systemic causes. And while we work on the systemic causes, we have to provide humane and immediate response to people who are living on the street, fellow human beings and neighbors. And so this safe outdoor space attempts to be just that. Attempts to be an immediate response to welcome people off the streets into a safe, secure, sanitary space. We will accommodate up to 10 individuals. They'll be given a tent, a sleeping bag, extra blankets, secure storage to store important documents that they need to get work and help and all of that. They will be given access to showers and laundry, and a community support worker will be matched with each person that will help them navigate their challenges, come alongside of them as they pursue their goals that each person has set for themselves so they can move towards stability. So this is the first step in hopefully many more steps towards stability. I want to share, we are a church, right? New Creation Albuquerque. And we love Jesus, all right? And we believe that Jesus invites us into a way of life that he called the kingdom of God, right? And the kingdom of God is interesting. It disrupts injustice, and it invites us and reveals how God is reconciling the world, how he's reconciling us to God, our creator, us to one another, and us to creation. And I love, Jesus said this, he quoted this, Isaiah, Jewish prophet. He said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me to proclaim good news to the poor, recovery of sight to the blind, to set free the oppressed, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." That year of the Lord's favor, it's called Jubilee. It was a season of debt forgiveness, liberation, and return of land to the original inhabitants. It's pretty radical stuff, right? This is what I believe we're called to. The way of Jesus, the way of his love, the way of his kingdom invites us into a way of life that reorders and reorients our relationships to one another. And so, too often, we respond to our unsheltered neighbors with hostility rather than hospitality, right? With exclusion rather than embrace, and with judgment rather than justice. And I want to invite all of us, because we all want a community that's flourishing. And unless all of us are flourishing, none of us are truly flourishing. And so if we want this neighborhood to flourish, if we want this city to flourish, we have to create spaces of welcome like this, where we see people as neighbors to know, not as problems to solve. And so I hope that this space is a place where we become more and more a beloved community of neighbors. And so our mission as a church is to share life with Jesus and neighbor, and to partner for peace, justice, and flourishing in this neighborhood, the International District. And so we are here because of Jesus and because of partnership. And so I'm not going to talk much longer. But I know you guys are standing in the sun. But this is like where it gets to be like an Oscar speech here. I'm going to give a list of thank yous, all right? All right, thank yous, because this is a partnership. This is about community coming together. This is about this. We can't do this alone. No one church, no one organization, no one individual, no one city, no one government can do it. So let me just list off the people. I wish I could say more. But churches: Albuquerque Mennonite Church, Hope EV Free Church, Foothills Church, Believer Center, Emmanuel Chapel. Let's give them a hand, the churches, all right? Thank you. We have businesses that came alongside of us. Visiting Angels Home Healthcare, Comfort Foods Co-Packing, John Moore and Associates, Troyer Homes, Home Depot, Builders First, Sturdy Built Sheds, Duke City Concrete, which gave us all this gravel that we stand on. Let's give them a hand. Give us some love. And then there's individuals, there's organizations. I want to single out Maria Wolf. Where are you, Maria? She's shorter than I am, and she's back there. There she is. All right. But she's with Triple H. She did a great job of coming alongside of us and helping navigate all the complex stuff that we had to do. And then Angelo Metzger. Where are you, Angelo? I was joking with him. Last time he was here, he was shutting us down. But this time, we're celebrating. So I appreciate it. Angelo is awesome. Angelo really did make a way, and he helped us along the way. And it's a better place than it was before. So thank you, Angelo. And thanks for the planning department. And we're going to continue to give you challenges. It's going to be good. East Central Ministries, John and Will. Francis House, who serves over 200 meals every day next door. Todd Loudon. Could you stand up, Todd, real quick? Todd is a part of Messiah Recovery. And he is providing all the social services and support work that we will be providing. Commissioner Barboa, thank you. We'll hear from her in a minute. South San Pedro, La Mesa, and Trumbull Village Neighborhood Associations all issued letters of support. So that's good. And then Rich, Tracy, and James, they live on property, and they are committed to making this a safe space. Thank you, guys. All right. And then there are several individuals in the crowd. They walk among us, and they want to be anonymous. But they supported us financially, supported us verbally, did so much to make this possible. So can we give them a thanks? And God knows who they are. And then, I promise, only two more, okay? I want to thank our first guests who were a part of this place before it was, legal. But they helped us clear the land. They helped us reimagine what it could look like to live in community and to create something special. So I want to thank them. And then I want to thank our church, New Creation Albuquerque, my people, my beloved community, who, because of your love for Jesus, your love for neighbor, your love for this neighborhood, and your love for each other, this is what makes it meaningful and possible. So thanks for being here and making it possible. All right. So, in conclusion, like a good preacher, 10 more minutes. No. I want to invite other organizations, other faith communities to create similar spaces of welcome, to put down what divides us and to welcome one another. We have navigated a lot of the challenges. We have the blueprint, and you can just kind of plug and play. We'd love to walk alongside of you to create similar spaces. So I encourage you that we can cooperate with the wide welcome of God at work in the world, and we can create other spaces of peace and flourishing in our city. So thank you for being here. I want to continue the celebration and invite Mayor Tim Keller to continue our celebration. Come on forward.
Thanks. All right, well, Pastor, thank you so much for all of those remarks, and also putting this in biblical perspective, in a sense of how this is so in step with what so much of us believe. And I think just want to mention, I owe my involvement in this project in some ways to divine intervention, which also means my mom. She's the one who brings cookies to the Francis house. And she's like, you have to come see this project for like years. And actually, it was about 3 years ago, I did go with her. And I forget exactly what it was for. And I was just like, Mom, you're the best. So anyway, she's not here today, but she is still alive. So shout outs to my mom. And she did text me, and she's like, tell him I'm still going to bring those cookies. So Cookies are coming next week. She's out of town today. So with that, I want to share, I think, a couple of things because this is part of so much, right? So much of whether it's part of our faith communities, part of what we believe as a city, part of literally helping people who have no shelter. And I think Pastor did a good such job of talking about that. I also want to put this in context with our city, because this is also extremely important, which is why we're all here, and we also want to make sure the cameras were here and everyone else. It's not because it's a photo op, it's not because it's a stunt, it's not because we want attention. That's like the last thing I want at this point, by the way. It's because of the message we want to send. And the message is this, and I'm going to share it with you first and then back into why this is so important. We need like 100 of these all over our city as soon as possible. That's the message. We need Albuquerque to join all of you and pitch in and take care of a handful of folks. And that's really important because what we're doing as a city is we're trying to match the stuff that the private sector or the nonprofit community or the faith community is just, it's harder for them to do, right? So if we go back 10 years ago, the city had a couple of folks, nonprofits that do good work that we funded. That's how the city helped our unhoused community for decades. Well, we started doing the real work of addressing some of these structural problems, like where could somebody go for an emergency other than the emergency room or jail? Well, we didn't have an answer for that until September, and now we do, and it's at the Gateway Center. Now, we said, where could you go if you were medically high or inebriated and you need medical help to sober up? We need medical sobering. That's what we have now at the Gateway Center. Where could you go if you were suffering from medical recovery, right? Like you had surgery, but no home to go home to. Well, now we have that also at the Gateway Center. Where could you go to actually get recovery? We're opening that next month where I got my driver's license at the old DMV is going to be our Gateway Recovery Center. Where can you go if you just literally need food and shelter and you're willing to open yourself up to some services and make, unfortunately, a little bit long transport out to the west side? We now have services and we remodeled the Gateway West. So we're trying to fill these gaps, right? And by the way, that's for 600 people every night. So when I say, like, we don't expect a church or a neighborhood to take 600 people every night. We'll do that. That's our job as the city. But we know the problem is so much bigger, right? Despite all those gaps that has taken us years to fill and tens of millions of dollars. And actually, we're still in a big fight with City Council to make sure we can fund the providers to fill up those beds. So stay tuned for that this week. But we know there's about 5,000 unhoused. And I know as a city, we're now housing 1,000 a night, just as a city, not including the nonprofits. And I know that with your help, we can probably get to about 2,000. But what do we do for the rest of the people? We have to meet people where they're at, both literally, but also in terms of their needs. And so this is the other piece that this is so important. Not everyone wants to go to a shelter. We know this, right? And we also know that not everyone wants to be on the street where they are preyed upon and victimized by either traffickers, drug dealers, and also crime. They're robbed and sometimes there's loss of life with the murder of our unhoused. So we know they want to be safe, so many more than we can take care of. So that brings us to safe spaces. So basically, full circle, it's like this. I think about 4 years ago, we tried the concept of safe outdoor spaces, but we were asking to have like 100 people in dirt lots. And basically it was kind of essentially killed in court for a number of zoning reasons. But now we've changed some of the zoning and we're asking for people for something different. We know how to make this work, and this is the role model. Keep it about 10 people. That's it. That's all we're asking for people to be okay with. So instead of having like 100 shelters, instead of having 10 shelters with 100 people, right? We want 100 shelters with 10 people. We can do that, Albuquerque. I know we can do that. And that keeps it safe, and it also increases the likelihood of eventual housing, which is part of the answer, there's no doubt. It increases the likelihood we'll be able to get people housing. So this is the restart, the rebirth, the regeneration of an older idea, but now in a way that we think can work for Albuquerque and actually be a place people can go besides the street for a huge group of folks who they just want to be on their own to recover on their own safely. That's what this offers. And so that's why I'm so grateful to everyone involved who's put this project together, whether it's the volunteers or the faith community. And I'll close with this. We asked the faith community at our Faith Leaders Breakfast to step up in this way. And so I will tell you, thank you for stepping up, everyone who's here. But we are saying partner with whoever you want. But we know there is enough church real estate, and that's important because of zoning. There's enough church real estate to do this, to actually accomplish our goal. And so we do hope that folks look at this as a test case and as also a helping hand to help others get started. And so that's why I am actually just filled with joy today to be here, because it gives me hope. And I know all that we're doing at the city will never be enough. We have to do this together as a community, and that's what you're doing. So thank you so much, and God bless.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to invite Triple H Director Gilbert Ramirez to share about the city support for SOS and community involvement. Come on.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gilbert Ramirez, and I have the humble privilege of serving as Director for Health, Housing, Homelessness, Triple H, right? I just, again, want to acknowledge New Creations Church and the pastor on achieving this. This is really your guys' celebration, your day, not ours. If anything, you taught us and pushed us into a space in which we had to work in partnership with our Department of Planning to say, how do we create a structure, a process, a permitting thing, and work alongside a partner to help them achieve a mission-driven goal. The mayor referenced his mother and the cookies, and that's fabulous. I think I will channel my root of my mother. I grew up with a lot of proverbs in Spanish that my mom would say around the house, and one of the ones she would say is, querer es poder, which translates to want is to do. And this is a prime example of an organization, a community coming together saying, there's a problem, we will get this done. And I know we joked about Angelo denying the permitting and closing it down initially, but it wasn't the end to our conversation. It was, what do we do internally to fix the process, expedite it? I owe a lot of credit to Maria Wolf. She kept me briefed and updated, and here's the struggle we're going through now. We're navigating, we almost have an answer to this, we've almost resolved this, and it finally got to the place where we reached a goal that was mission-driven by New Creations, the leadership of the pastor, which is so important, and more importantly, us just being a partner. And I appreciate the opportunity to be that. We learned a lot of lessons. We're trying to, there's still more to overcome, as the pastor mentioned, as to how do we do this efficiently and be able to replicate it. I want to talk a little bit about the ingredients of why these spaces are so important. As the mayor mentioned, not everyone is going to want to seek the large congregate shelters that we have running. Not everyone's going to be appropriate for some of the settings in which we do have. And it's much like a comprehensive high school. Sometimes comprehensive high schools aren't the best fit for every student, right? So you adapt, and that's why we have charter schools. We have alternative options. This is part of that continuum. I'm a long-time practicing social worker, and I always look at what are the safety nets and what's that continuum of care. We need everybody involved in this process to be able to help us fill those gaps. This is a prime example of, us coming together to say, 10 is huge. It's 10 individuals who don't have to. The words that stick with me is the best sleep that an individual has had in a while, because they didn't have to watch their back, worry about being assaulted, worry about theft or crime or anything else happening, because it's going to be in a safe, structured area. The ingredients to safe outdoor spaces or structured encampment in managed areas, they're so important. I've had the privilege of seeing the ones in Tucson, Arizona, Phoenix, down south in Las Cruces, what they've done, and we were invited to go visit what Santa Fe did with their pilot model. We are part of that current right now to do something a little bit different, and it's going to require that. In a time in which we're seeing probably the largest assault toward impoverished and or vulnerable communities that we've probably ever seen, at least in my lifetime, we all have to come together to look at our resources, and resources are thin. I hear the leveraging of the gravel, the financial partners who wish to remain silent. It takes every single one of those to put your money what's passionate to you and help. We're trying to do the same with our funding, and yet there's limited amounts, and there may be more restrictions on that funding in what we have. So we have to adapt. This is an example of that. And again, my appreciation and gratitude for the fight that was taken on by the individuals who made this happen. More importantly, allowing us to sit in the space of folks' homes, because that's where we are literally in right now. It's an invitation into this space, and we appreciate it because it's a safe one, and it's a managed one, and I hear the case management services are going to be coming. Those are the ingredients. This is a public health issue in regards to making sure that folks have a safe restroom and hand washing station. You know, I recall in the early days we had so many individuals wanting to feed our unhoused. Unfortunately, though, we had an outbreak because individuals didn't have access to sanitary stations to wash their hands and eat food cleanly, right? So we were actually promoting an environment that wasn't safe. This addresses that. That's the complications of what happens when you have good intentions, but there are pieces that we have to consider to make sure that it's addressing everything so that we are indeed doing good and doing no harm, right? I do, again, want to acknowledge that this is monumental because it's our first. It puts us on the map. I also wish to echo the call that if others wish to partner with us, we've got the staff available to walk you through that. Maria is ready for the next one in conjunction with our planning department to make sure we will help you through that permitting process. We will come out to the site to say what needs to be developed and how do you do it correctly so that there's no resources wasted. All we ask is that you engage us. And then the second piece really is what I started with the quote from my mother. To want is to do. And so the call out is to those individuals, those organizations, our religious institutions, if they can. If you truly want to help, then we know you can do, and we have that process available and ready at hand to support and lend that to you all as we look at expansion, because 10 at a time turns into hundreds at a time, and then we're making a bigger impact so we don't have to see the removal and the shuffling of individuals that we are seeing because of other codes and rules and safety issues. We want to address this in conjunction with our community. So again, my gratitude, Pastor, congratulations to you and the team and the individuals who are living here. Thank you for allowing us into this space. Our appreciation for that. That's it.
I want to invite Commissioner Barboa, who has brought county support to this space. So thank you so much. Coming forward.
Thank you. I am so honored to be here today. Just like everyone said, I want to congratulate and just thank everyone that's come together to make this possible. I know it's been a struggle, but if anything we can learn from today is that struggle, that continued pressure, that continued work and persistence can turn out to be exactly what our communities need. I'm Adrienne Barboa. I'm honored to be able to be represented to serve as the county commissioner for this district, the District 3, where I grew up. I live in the home I grew up in, and this is my forever home. Coming into the county my first few years, I learned a lot of people think of this area, maybe because they've never been here or they just pass through or come when they're going to the fair, that they think of this area as this place that people just want to get out of. Well, I've lived here my whole entire life, and I'm far from wanting to get out of here. And I know so many of the people I went to school with, went to high school with, graduated with, continue to live in this community because it's a beautiful, rich community, unlike any other in our whole entire state. Since everybody's talking about moms, I'm going to take a second to talk about my mom. When I was a young person, still living in my mom's home that I live in now, still, she's passed, one of my uncles who had a work injury, he got, just like many folks, got overprescribed medication for his pain of his work injury. He became addicted to that substance and alcohol and street drugs. Then when he wasn't no longer given he lost his dignity, he lost his home, and he was on the streets. And for a while, I remember my mom and my grandpa sitting at the kitchen table at my home, so worried about what my uncle was, what was going on with him, just deliberating. And they would get to the streets. I'd be a young person in the back of the car, my mom and grandpa driving around trying to find my uncle. And when they finally did find my uncle, my mom told them, come stay with us. Come stay with me, and we're going to get you set up. He had disability. He had the things that he wasn't getting because of the systems that we've already heard about. And she brought him in, and sure enough, of course my uncle didn't want to be living in those situations. Of course he had things that he needed help with, and she was that lifeline for him. And too many people, it's that mother's love, too many people don't have that lifeline. And it is up to us as government and building social safety nets, building safe, dignified communities, that we be that lifeline for folks that don't. And I'm just so proud of this marker today. I knew because I was coming here to Faith Creations, one of my favorite parts in the Bible is in Corinthians when it talks about love. And it's a longer thing than I'll say now, but it says that love is not jealous, love does not fight, love does not rejoice when there's injustice, but rather rejoices when there is justice. And today is the day that love wins. Today is the day that we can see the product of love. So thank you so much. And I also just want to speak to the power of community. These folks live, work, play here. They know this is a place that we value, that is a gem in our society. Our other groups that I've been able to learn from and listen to, like Essential Ministries and other folks, Health Equity Partnership, doing the on-the-ground work, that live here, that know the communities, that know the value here, they have the solutions. And we just need to continue to put the resources to it. I won't speak much more other than to say we're so happy. When I first got in, Commissioner O'Malley had really started the tiny home village that is the neighbor right here across the street. We had a lot to learn in that too. When I came in, it was largely empty. Now we are serving filled all the time, consistently getting people into permanent housing, and then getting more folks in there, consistently running that so that it's dignified, so that it's supportive, and that it's getting people into more housing. So what a great neighbor to have this space as our neighbor. And I want us to keep thinking about those community government partnerships that can lead to these kind of beautiful projects that bring dignified, safe living and supportive housing to our communities. That's what I'm here to work for as your commissioner. And I ask you, it doesn't happen without your pressure, without your fighting us. That's what we're here for. We need to hear your solutions. We know you have them, and this is proof of it today. So thank you very much.
We have one more person to hear from. I wanted to get Enrique Cardiel to come and share. Enrique, some people call him the mayor of the International District. I don't know if you've heard that. but I don't know if he likes that term. I don't think he does. I'm sorry. Sorry about that, buddy. Sorry. But when I first moved into the neighborhood, he said he would wait and see if I stayed for 5 years, and then he would be my friend. So I've been here for 10, right? So we're friends. We're hugging. Yeah, we're good. So please share with us.
All right, I'll have to be quick. I got to run to an appointment, but thank you all for being here. My name's Enrique Cardiel. I live in this neighborhood. I've lived in this neighborhood for 30 years. I'm a homeowner in this neighborhood. Product of low-income housing, quote-unquote, whatever you want to call that. And I'm also the director of the Health Equity Council. And I say that it's important right now because in the news, right, equity is seen as something about race. It's seen something about your gender, your sexual identity, right? But equity also includes class. It includes poverty, right? And our society set up to try to pretend class doesn't exist, right? But we wouldn't need these kind of spaces if class didn't exist, right? Some people say there's 5,000 folks living on the streets. Other people say it's 9,000. So that's 900 of these spaces that we would need, right? Because we haven't figured out how to provide accessible and affordable housing to everybody, right? We live in a society where we make it really hard for people to get health care, right? Get mental health care. We make it hard for people to afford housing, right? And then we want to complain that those folks are struggling or that they're living outside, in our neighborhoods, right? But we're part of that society, right? We need to make the choices to do that. As the Health Equity Council, in these new times that we're living in, we've already been told by people, you can't apply for these funds because your name is equity, equity is in our name, right? So we've already dealt with that. I'm not trying to call anybody out, but we're trying to figure out a budget situation with the city. So I'm looking at how to not lay off folks who work in public health, right? Public health, people say it's important, right? The folks up here say it's important. We have 1,500 law enforcement officers. We don't expect them to stop crime, but with 10 people, we're expected to improve the health of the entire county, right? So it's important that we hold those things up, right? That we let people know. I'm very honored and proud that Jesse's my friend and that he's doing this work, right? And that some of you all out here are friends of mine and do this work, right? Because this is really the important work, right? We're not gonna change society through lots of other things that we've tried, but this is gonna work. These kind of things is gonna work, right? Because this makes us human with each other. It gets us in community with each other, right? And I'm probably the least biblical person up here, but you know, there's something in the Bible that says, you know, what you do to the least, right, is what you do to me. And so, not to say that folks living outside are the least, right? But in our hierarchy of our society, that's how it rolls, you know, and we need to be honest about that. You know, we, as the Health Equity Council, have been out on street corners, giving out Narcan, food and water. We've had code enforcement kick us out, you know, and I got to call that out, right? We're here, we are trying to do our job, right? And the institutions that we work with are the ones telling us to stop doing what we're supposed to do, right? So we have lots of challenges, right? I shouldn't have went last because I'm the downer. But it's the truth, and we got to get to the truth. If we don't get to the truth, right, we're always going to be stuck, right? There's lots of challenges, right? There's lots of contradictions. One part of the system's moving one way and the other part's moving the other way. We're a severely over-policed community, right? I see cops every day, right? No matter where I go, I could stay home, sit in my front yard, and I'll see a cop every day, right? And for some people, that makes them feel safer. For me, it doesn't. I'm one of the people that have been on the wrong side of officer thinking I'm doing something when I'm not, right? And so you gotta be able to look at all of those things so that we can get somewhere. And I know, I've known all of these folks up here for a good long time, right? Actually, Jesse's the person I've known the least amount of time, right? And I think it has been 10 years. And I'm proud to work with these folks. And again, we still have challenges. We have things to work through, things to get better, right? But we can be honest about that. And that's important, right? Because honestly, we look at this is great. We shouldn't be here, right? We gotta be honest about that. But since we are here, this is important, right? We only have 899 more of these to go, right? Until we figure out affordable housing, until we figure out universal health care. I don't know why with all the money that was in the state coffers this year, we weren't the first state to have universal health care, but you know, we're not. We still need to move in that direction, right? We can't wait for the feds to do everything. And so these local efforts are key, they're important, and I really want to appreciate everybody that participates in this kind of work, whether it's in this specific project or people that go out and feed people on a regular basis, people that go out and provide first aid on a regular basis. That's all important and it's all necessary. And without you all, we would be in a lot worse shape. So thank you, everybody. And please give a big round for all of this hard work.
Yeah. Woo. Okay. I've never done one of these before, but apparently someone's got ribbon. We've got scissors. I'm going to invite all you all to help hold and yeah, let's.
Do you want to invite everyone who wants to be in it? Like
okay, sure.
Your whole community?
Whoever wants to be in, grab a piece of the ribbon. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like, well, come behind.
No, come behind.
Yeah. So you can be in the picture if you want.
Come on,
Anyone who's been involved or, is it two guys who's ribbon? Yeah, you kind of.
cakes, so please help yourself.